The House has passed Protecting the Right to Organize Act.
Ooh. This has got to be good. It's protecting something. It's a right.
Well, we have a right to organize and petition our government. You know what I mean?
So do we need an act for it? Because I think it's in the Constitution already.
I think we can. I think we can organize. We have a right to organize. We have a right to come together and. Oh no! Wait! No, that's to say things against the government. We don't have that right. They were taking that right away. You can't get together. You can't get together. You can't congregate. You can't. I mean, that's really dangerous stuff. You're a radical if you want that. However, if you want to have a union, you're set. If you don't want to have a union, kind of sucks for you. The House passed the Protecting the Right to Organize, the PRO Act, a bill that would substantially amend existing U.S. labor law. In a 225 to 206 vote Tuesday evening, 5 Republicans voted with the Democrats in favor. 1 Democrat voted with Republicans against it. It is a wish list for union leaders. If you didn't know who controlled the union, who controlled the Democratic Party, you certainly do now. It is, it's amazing. The ranking member of the House Education and Labor Committee added that unions have pushed the bill to stop declining union membership, which has taken place over the last 60 years. It forces unionization of workers who don't necessarily want to join a union or pay union dues. Republicans proposed a series of amendments to the PRO Act, which were rejected by the Democrats. One rejected amendment proposed would have required unions with a president or vice president who has been convicted of a felony within the last 3 years to file more detailed financial disclosures with the Department of Labor. So that one was going too far. You don't want to have to actually ask somebody who's been convicted of a felony in the last 3 years.
Right. 4 years ago, you could have murdered an entire group of school children with bowling balls. But as long as it's not within the last 3 years.
Right.
That's
exactly right.
That's totally fine.
And listen, that didn't pass, thank goodness. So you could have murdered a bunch of school children with bowling balls yesterday.
Right, okay.
And you don't have to answer any questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The PRO Act is a compilation of various policy changes that the labor unions support, which would make it easier for unions to organize private sector employees. The bill would remove workers' ability to vote against unionization. Listen to this, via secret ballot elections. So when they're voting, should we have a union or not? You have to stand up and go, I'm against the union, thugs.
That's going to work out well for you.
I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy. A secret ballot is one of the main cornerstones of America.
I'd like a horse head in my bed. Thank you.
I'd like to just give the address of my children's school right now. It gives the National Labor Relations Board, not the workers, a final say in the decision to unionize a workforce. The PRO Act would also nullify the right to work laws that exist in 27 states. So we have a right to work law. Not anymore.
I mean, that's really bad. You see over and over again that the right to work states outperform
every time
the unionizing states
every time
over and over again.
I mean, I have just a quick story. In fact, 2. The first time I met Don Imus, I was 18 years old, and I was up at WNBC in New York, and I had come from
WNBC.
BC. Where was I at the time? I think I was in Washington, WPGC, and it was not a union radio station. And I go to WNBC, where my friend was working, and it was still a music station at the time. And they had him in one booth just to say, 66, WNBC. This is, whoever. That's what he did. They had a member of the musicians union. It was the only person that could touch the records. At the time, they were still playing records. The only one that could touch the record was a member of the musicians union. And he would touch the record and grab it, and then he would put it on the turntable. Then a second person, which was a member of the, technicians union, he could actually put the needle on the record and cue it up. Then you'd have your board op start the record.
And the jock was in a different room.
In a different room, and all he would do is talk. Okay, so you had, in a job that I was doing myself, you had to have 4 people do.
And they couldn't even turn their microphones on,
No,
right?
they couldn't.
That had to be the board op to do that.
Yes.
I mean, that is incredible.
Incredible.
What happens when the technician is putting the needle on the record and he mistakenly touches the record? Does he spontaneously combust? How does that work?
I don't really know, but they were very, very serious about it because I was mocking it, and he was like, "Don't mock it. Yeah, don't mock it. Don't mock it. I'll be dead by tomorrow."
Because it's protecting jobs that didn't need to exist.
So it started, the radio union started because they started replacing orchestras. You know, they would have singers come in and bands come in and everything else. So all of those musicians lost their jobs soon as the record came in. And so the union said, "You can't play records." What are you talking about? Of course we're going to play records. It's cheaper, it's better, it's consistent. No, we can't do that. Look at all the musicians that are going to be put out of work. Well, yeah, it's called progress. Okay, well, then if you're going to do that, we're going to organize. They organized and said musicians union members had to be the one that moved the record. Okay, so former musicians were like, "Yeah, I used to play the horn. Now I'm just doing this."
Unbelievable.
Okay, the second story, we were in New York. And we were building a studio. And it took us how long to build the studio? We had 16,000 square feet total. And about 8,000 of it was studio space. We built 1, 2, 3 studios. But the walls were already up. Okay, it was already a radio station. All we had to do was just put some sheetrock up, change the look of everything, do some painting and wallpaper or some lights, drop the consoles into things that were already there, and it took us about a year. And it was the biggest pain in the butt ever. And everything was waiting for the unions. Sorry, can't touch that. No, I was wondering if you could could you just plug that in? Because we're ready to go if you, sorry, different union.
I'll plug it in. Nope, can't do that.
Can't do it. Mm-hmm. And if it is plugged in, you're fined. Okay. We came down to Texas, a right-to-work state. We took an 80,000 square foot studio, and we built the sets, we hung the lights, and we made it into a digital broadcast studio. It was a film studio. We built a digital broadcast center. And we did the first draft in a week. In a week. We had nothing. And in a week, we had a studio. That's the difference between unions and a right-to-work state. Now, here's the really bad part. You don't get to choose anymore whether you like to join a union or not. All of this is based on that horrible, horrible labor law in California for the what do you call it? I can only think of bit economy, but it's not. It's the
gig economy.
Gig economy. The gig economy. Remember, California took it apart, and they passed a law that said, no, you can't. You have to have a 40-hour work week. You can't do a bit economy because it's just too bad for people. It's just horrible. Well, no. In fact, it was so disliked by the public that California had a referendum and they voted against it. So they put it in, and then the people rose up and said, no, you're not saying no to a gig economy. And the stats on a gig economy are astounding. And that's what they're going after. They're not only going after all the mom and pop businesses, they're not only going after our economy, they're not only trying to help the unions because they've had a 60-year decline because everybody knows how much they suck. Look, I'm not saying that the mob exists. If it did, it would be great, but I'm sure it doesn't.
That's that thing from the movies, right? The mob.
Yeah, the mob.
That's not a real.
I'm sure that's not.
If it did exist, we'd be for it.
Yes, we would absolutely be for it.
We'd love it, and we think they are great guys doing a good job for America.
Man, I love them.